What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards Football Sports Talk Radio. I'll be your host and producer for the show, Logan Landers, and joining me here today from the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network, he is Jay McLovin, and he's going to be my co-host, helping me break down this highly contested ACC matchup between the 6-2 Duke Blue Devils taking on their conference foes in the number 5 ranked, undefeated 8-0 Miami Hurricanes, who are currently 4-0 in their conference. This game is going to be played on Saturday, November the 2nd, with a 12 p.m. Eastern kickoff on Fox and also on ESPN Plus, if you want to go that route. So, Jay, actually, excuse me, this is going to be on ABC and ESPN Plus. So, Jay, how are you doing, my friend? And let's talk about this game here between Duke and Miami.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously Cam Ward, everybody wants to see Cam Ward, so that's going to be the big ticket item, right? I mean, like you said, you got number 5 Miami, who's undefeated. If they continue to go down this route, I could imagine, or I could even see them getting into the top 4, given the way things have been going here lately. So we'll see how that unfolds. But Miami has a 15-5 series lead over Duke, so they've been playing Duke pretty well. I will say this, Duke did win the last meeting, Logan, and they won it pretty decisively, that by 24 points. The score was Duke 45 and Miami 21. So, Duke has shown that they can beat Miami. However, in a comma, I don't know if this specific Duke team is going to be able to handle all of what Cam Ward is willing to dish out. When you look at the stats, right, you got Murphy for Duke, quarterback, 164 completions out of 280 attempts for almost 1,800 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. So he's been doing quite well for himself. Going up against the aforementioned Cam Ward, who's got 191 completions out of 281 tries, and he's almost at 2,800 yards through the air with 24 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Logan, that's like what, 8 more touchdowns that Cam Ward has over Murphy. And then when you go to the running backs, it doesn't get any better for Duke. You got Thomas at 151 carries at 681 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's 4.5 yards per carry, taken on Martinez, who has 93 carries for 529 and 8 touchdowns, and that's 5.3 yards a carry. So clearly, through the air and on the ground, Miami has the edge over Duke. When we look at the wide receivers, you got Moore, who has 34 catches at 481 and 4 touchdowns, to Restrepo, who has 43 catches at 710 yards and 6 touchdowns. So there's obviously a kind of a disparity there when you look at what Miami is doing versus what Duke is doing. When you look at the teams that Duke has lost to in that 6-2 record, it was Georgia Tech and SMU. Now, SMU, I kind of can get that loss because SMU is a ranked team and they're doing quite well. But sure. Georgia Tech, really?
Georgia Tech's had an up and down year. They'll play good against, you know what I mean? Like, they'll look great one week, and the next week the wheels will fall off. So they got them on whenever they were looking hot.
The one thing I like about, Miami's quarterback in Cam Ward is he has a great ability to read the defenses, Logan. And when you have a good IQ, a good football IQ, and you throw in how well he is athletically, it kind of just tells you how good number one, he is, and number 2, how good this offense is. Now, Duke's run game is swift. I mean, they have a very quick and swift running game, which makes it difficult to predict plays. So where Cam Ward is able to read defenses, he's gonna. I wonder if if Miami's defense is going to be able to read Duke's run game. Like I said, so their pass game is precise routes and good execution for Duke. And they're going to have good execution, Logan, if they're going to beat this tough Miami team. Duke's defense, like I said, is tough. Their defensive line puts pressure on the quarterback well, and their linebackers are great in coverage. All of these things they're going to have if they want to beat Miami. Now, Miami's offense is also a very well balanced between the run and pass. So Duke is going to have, I believe Duke's going to have their hands full as well. Miami defensive players, I think, to watch are going to be Peyton Jones and Sean Brown. Both are strong leaders, and they are both great at tackling and reading plays. And that's going to come in handy when they go up against this Duke team, like I said, that mixes up that run extremely well. Now this defense for Miami, they use a mix of blitz and zone coverage. So it's going to be interesting to see how Duke's offense is going to adjust to that. Miami's pass protection is what makes them great, and their strong run game and precise aerial attacks is going to keep Duke's defense on their toes. Logan, I got to tell you, man, I think Miami takes it, but I think it'll be a close game. I think it's going to be a well-fought game. I think they get it by maybe a score, maybe 2 scores at 10 points at the most. So I'm going to say 35-26 in favor of Miami.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting ball game. We know Miami's undefeated on the year, which means they've beaten all 4 of their conference opponents so far. As for Duke, they do have an impressive 6-2 record. However, Jay, both of those losses come in the conference plays. You mentioned Georgia Tech earlier. So I think with Duke, it's just which version of you are we going to get? Are you going to have to pretty much, I would say, play a damn near perfect game? Because this Miami team is absolutely stacked, especially on offense. This is a Duke team who's coming off a very close 1-point loss to the SMU Mustangs last week. So, you know that they're feeling a little bit slighted, saying, man, we are so close to a victory. What can we do better? And that's what they're going to be coming into this game against Miami on the road, mind you. So it's going to be at Hard Rock. So fans are going to be pumped there. It's also going to be interesting when I was looking at both of these teams here, Jay. When you look at the head coaches, it's going to be kind of an interesting correlation because, as we know, we have Miami coach Mario Cristobal and Duke coach Manny Diaz. Well, that sounds familiar. Well, yes, Diaz used to be at Miami and was then fired and replaced by Mario Cristobal. So this is going to mean a little bit extra for Duke because, you know, their head coach is wanting to kind of get revenge on their old team. So that's going to be a factor, I think, just that personal grudge, right? But when I would look at Miami, man, this is an absolutely loaded team. You mentioned Cam Ward, definitely a guy who needs to be talked about when it comes to potential Heisman coming up now later in the season. We're only got a couple of games left, and if he can continue to ball out the way he has, he's got a really good shot, Jay, at winning that trophy, bringing home the hardware back to the U. I mean, like I said, over 2,700 yards, a solid 68% completion percentage as well, which means he's not just throwing erratically, he's throwing with precision, 24 touchdowns, 5 picks, like you mentioned. That is not bad at all. I'll take that any day for my starting quarterback. And that's kind of what Miami's been looking for in recent years. You know, they'd always have good teams, but they'd always have to struggle a little bit at quarterback in years past. And now that Cam Ward, is there, is healthy, is performing to the level that they're all wanting, they're wanting him to. I mean, he has looked locked in, Jay, coming over. Of course, he's a transfer. He wasn't even with the program. He transferred over from Washington State, where he was absolutely electric over there, and he has just been improving and improving. Jay, this guy has been in college since 2020, since COVID, and he has already racked up a very solid career, over 16,000 yards, 35 touchdowns, 143 touchdowns, only 35 interceptions. So that tells me he throws the ball a lot, he gets a lot of touchdowns, and he doesn't get turnovers nearly as much as we see with some other quarterbacks in the league. You mentioned Restrepo, who's a great wide receiver, leading the team with 710, also 6 touchdowns. Isaiah Horton behind him, also having a really good season, as well as Jacoby George, another wide receiver who's got 4 touchdowns on the year. Now, when you look at Miami, you look at this team and you see, oh, my God, their offense, number 1 in the nation, right? 40-something points per game, I believe 48 or 46. So they are just an absolute juggernaut. But the question with this team comes with, can their defense come to play? And I say that because, yes, they beat just the hell out of Florida State last week because, I mean, Florida State's had a just insane year in the worst way possible. So they beat them up, but I want to go back a couple of more weeks, Jay, because there was a 3-week stretch. They gave up 34 points to Virginia Tech, 38 points to Cal, and then 45 points to Louisville. All 3 of those teams, Jay, are unranked.
Yeah.
So if Duke can come in here, and we see that they can consistently put up 21 points or more, right? It just kind of depends on how their offense is clicking. If their offense is on point, like you said, there is I could say, a legitimate shot at there being an upset. Do I think it's going to happen? I do not. I think Miami will roll in this game. I think that they've got to me, Jay, someone has to stop their offense, and no one has yet. They're undefeated. No one stopped their offense. I don't know if Duke's defense can do that. Like I said, when you look at Duke as a whole, when you look at their team, when you look at some of their standouts on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, you've got a solid crop of players all in all. But you're looking for your big guys, right? Your heavy hitters, your guys like Alex Howard, your linebacker, leading your team in tackles with 59. Also, Jay, leading the team in sacks with 5. You got another guy, Vincent Anthony Jr., 4 sacks on the season. I mean, all in all, this team's got 24 sacks throughout 9 weeks of play going into week 10. So they can get to the quarterback. They got 9 interceptions as well. So they have some good pieces. It's just that you have to play, like I said earlier, a pretty much perfect ball game if you're going to want to upset this team and if you're going to want to knock off a top 5 team in the nation coming in unranked like Duke is. They are a solid 6-2 on the year. And, if it wasn't for a lot of other great teams, they would be in the ranking somewhere, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. If they win this game, though, Jay, they're probably going to get a ranking. They might bump into that top 25, but I think for now I'm going to go with Miami winning this ball game. I'll go with final score. Give me Miami 31 and give me Duke 17. I think Miami's offense is too overpowering, and I think that will continue with another win to go 9-0, Jay. Is the U back? Are they back officially yet? Can we say that? Or was still a little bit too early? We'll see. That'll be a later episode for a later date. But, yeah, guys, like I said, check this game out. Noon Eastern. It's going to be on ABC and ESPN+. Good ACC matchup here coming into Week 10. Jay McLovin, my brother from the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network. I appreciate you coming on the show, dropping some insight about this highly contested ACC matchup between Duke and Miami. Once again, if you enjoyed this video, like, comment, share, and subscribe. And until next time, we'll talk to you all again on another live